Have you ever wondered why the reasons were given for a war, fighting over borders, honor, or big ideas, often feel like a movie trailer? But the real movie is about something much simpler. It's about someone trying to find the light switch to an entire country and flip it off. Let me ask you this. Think of your home. You have your kitchen, your living room, your bedroom. But what happens if someone shuts off the main power breaker? Everything stops. The lights, the heat, the Wi-Fi, the fridge, nothing works. Now, imagine a tiny island, Kharg Island, is the main power breaker for 90% of Iran's oil money. And a narrow waterway, the Strait of Hormuz, is like the single main power line for 20% of the world's oil. Do you really think these are just side notes in a war? Or are they the main switch that everyone knows you either protect with your life or you try to shut off? Russia has been trying to flip Ukraine's power switches for years. The conflict between the US and Iran has put that big global power line at Hormuz at risk, making everyone. So why do we still talk about war as if it's just about where soldiers are standing? The real battlefield is often invisible. It's the grid. Stay with me and I'll show you why energy isn't just a piece of the puzzle in modern war. It is the puzzle. We'll look at how the war in Ukraine and the standoff over that tiny island in Iran are showing us the same thing. And I'll explain why changing our light bulbs to LEDs won't change this game. Future wars will still be about who controls the switch. If you're ready to see how the world really works, instead of just the story they sell you, let's begin. Think of our world like a human body. It has bones, muscles, and a brain, but none of it works without the nervous system carrying signals and the bloodstream carrying oxygen. Energy is both of those things for a country. Oil and gas are the blood, and the electrical grid is the nervous system. Once you see it that way, you stop looking at war like a game of chess, moving soldiers around a board. You start asking different questions. Who's trying to unplug the other side? Who's blocking the flow of money and fuel? Who's trying to send a whole country back to the dark ages, literally by making it cold and dark? That's why going after energy isn't just a military tactic. It's a way to break a country's heart and soul. You hit a power plant, a pipeline, or a port, and you're not just blowing something up. You're attacking a nation's ability to fight, to work, to communicate, and to hope. This isn't a theory. It's happening right now with brutal clarity in Ukraine. Since 2022, Russia has been launching wave after wave of attacks on Ukraine's power grid. This isn't just random bombing. It's like a calculated plan to slowly dim the lights on the entire country. Imagine trying to live your life when someone is constantly trying to shut off your power, your heat, and your water, especially in the freezing winter. That's the goal, to use energy as a weapon. By 2024, most of Ukraine's main power plants were damaged or destroyed. They even had to raise electricity prices for their own people just to pay for the repairs. But here's the amazing part. Ukraine is fighting back, not just with soldiers, but with engineering. In a stunning move, they unplugged their grid from Russia and connected it to Europe in 2022. Think of it like your neighbor cutting your power line, so you run a giant extension cord to another neighbor's house. This connection became a strategic lifeline, allowing them to import electricity and literally keep the lights on. It shows that in an energy war, survival is about having friends and backup plans. An extension cord to a friendly neighbor can be as powerful as a tank. Now let's look at Kharg Island. This isn't a story about extension cords and blackouts. This is a story about the world's main fuel pump. Kharg Island isn't famous for its beaches. It's famous because it's the nozzle on the gas pump for almost all of Iran's oil exports. It's a tiny but vital spot where massive tankers can fill up because the water is deep enough. Without it, Iran's economy chokes. The island can hold 30 million barrels of oil. It's not just a port, it's a giant fuel tank for the country's entire economy, all concentrated in one place. And it's sitting right next to the Strait of Hormuz, the superhighway for about a fifth of the entire world's oil and gas. So when you have a problem there, it's not a local problem. It's like putting a clamp on one of the world's main arteries. That's exactly what we've seen. The conflict sent oil prices soaring over 40% in March 2026, because that artery was being squeezed. And here's where the strategy becomes crystal clear. When the US conducted strikes on the island in March 2026, they hit military targets but carefully avoided the oil facilities. It was like a robber walking into your home, showing you he has a sledgehammer, tapping it on your priceless family vase, and then leaving. He didn't break it, but he sent a message. I can anytime I want. The threat itself became the weapon. It's about holding the enemy's economic oxygen supply hostage. Iran understands this game perfectly. They responded by threatening to go after energy facilities of anyone aligned with their enemies, effectively saying, if our lights go out, we'll make sure no one's lights stay on. This isn't new. During the Iran-Iraq War in the 1980s, this same island was bombed repeatedly. The lesson was learned long ago. Whoever controls the flow of energy has power far beyond any battlefield. So what about the future? People hope that by switching to green energy, these problems will just go away. That's wishful thinking. The game doesn't end. The game board just changes. Just because you switch from a gas car to an electric one doesn't mean you don't need roads to drive on. Future wars won't be about oil wells, but they might be fought over lithium mines for batteries, the factories that build solar panels, or the giant transformers that keep the grid running. If a society depends on it to keep the lights on and the factories running, it becomes a target. The principle is the same. This is why every war becomes an energy war. It's because energy isn't something a country has, it's what a country is. It powers everything from tanks on the battlefield to the television in your living room. And in a serious conflict, both sides eventually realize that flipping the other's main power switch can be more devastating than winning any single battle. That's why a power grid in Ukraine is a battlefield. That's why a tiny island like Karg can hold the world hostage. And that's why the wars of tomorrow will be fought over energy, just with different technologies and the same ruthless logic. The real story of war isn't just about who wins or loses on the ground. It's about who can keep their lights on while plunging the other side into darkness.